Welcome back to In Your Neighborhood. I'm your host, Charlotte Brown, and on today's show, we've been talking with Every Breath Counts Lung Group, and we have Cal Young now joining us for this last segment. So welcome to the show, Cal.
Thank you, Charlotte.
He's the other co-founder of this amazing group that's now in our community. So let's talk a little bit, Cal, what your lung disease is and your kind of journey with having lung disease.
Okay, I am COPD as well. I went for many years knowing I was asthmatic. I did smoke, which didn't help my cause at all. What happened to me was I was getting older. I was very active in the community. Did a lot of volunteer work, was on a lot of groups and committees. So when I started showing major symptoms, I didn't complain about it when I went to my doctors or anything else. I just figured I got to slow down. I'm getting old and all this. And then one day I was getting ready to go out for a meeting. Actually, it was Benny Birch. Volunteered for that for many years and for St. Joe's. I went out and took a big breath of fresh air and I couldn't exhale.
Oh, wow.
To me, that's when it all started. And when I thought, well, gee, this came on awfully quick. Well, after the education and everything else going through the rehab program, I found out this was coming on for many years. I just hadn't noticed. I ended up on oxygen permanently because I had let it go for so long and hadn't complained about it. I went down to Toronto. I was referred down there because I wasn't getting any better. And then I was put on this kind of a mask, which is called Venturi, which gives me direct feed and constant airflow into my nose, where the cannula, it's a combination of outside as well as what I'm getting from my machine. And that really made a big difference for me as far as being able to exercise. And exercise is, like Heather had pointed out and Shelley, is a very important part of our regime to help us live a better life. Between that combination of our medications that we have, because things don't get better, they just eventually get worse. So you want to stay as stable as you can. So while I was down there, they put me on this, which helped immensely. Dr. Beeman started with an experimental drug, which did wonders for Heather and I both. Many people in our group could not take this kind of a drug, but we were very lucky. To us, it's a miracle drug. The exercise program has really done wonders for me as well. But when you're really sick and you have your pneumonia and you're having your lung attacks, they put you on what's called prednisone. Well, prednisone is a steroid, and steroids, of course, make you very hungry, and you eat. I went from 180 to 340 in less than a year. I've been able to get myself down to 250, but it's taken 2.5, 3 years to get down to this size, and I still have to lose another 40 to 50 pounds, and then they can take a look at a double lung transplant, which eventually that's what I'll be having.
Wow, and that's something that they're looking at for you as well, Heather, is possible lung transplant down the road. So literally, your life changed literally with a breath. You went outside, you could inhale in, you couldn't inhale out.
Exactly.
So how quickly it can happen to people. So it's great to let the community know that to watch for those signs early, because early detection is key. But also, how important is it then to then have this group, to have a support group? So you always had the education and the exercise and the rehabilitation through St. Joe's, but now you've started this group. What is that all about, and how important is it to now have the support and people around you?
Well, we meet every month, generally the first Thursday of the month. Currently, we have been alternating our meetings between the Waverley Resource Library and the Mary J. L. Black Library.
Right.
We meet from 7 till about 8:30. We have had guest speakers each month, and the attendance has improved dramatically. We're always welcoming new people to come out because the group is there for everybody, not just those that come to the rehabilitation program through St. Joseph's Care Group, but anybody in the community who's dealing with asthma, lung cancer, any type of lung disease, and they want to get more information.
Right. And what does a meeting look like? So you have a keynote speaker, you said?
Yes.
So every meeting has a different speaker. Give maybe some examples of people who've came out and talked, or topics that you've had covered before.
Well, the first meeting was held the first Thursday in December of 2014, And we had a guest speaker from Medigas who spoke with the group about oxygen therapy, what's involved in using oxygen, and it was very informative. We had the chance to ask questions afterward, and it's also a bit of a social gathering because we have coffee and tea, etc., and share stories at the end of the presentation.
Right.
And then in January, we had a representative from the CCAC, Community Care Access Center, and a representative from the Thunder Bay Regional Telehome Care Program, who both spoke about the services that they offer through telehome care. It's through referral, self-referral, or by family doctor, and the person is called in for an appointment, they're assessed, and they're provided with the equipment that's necessary to take their blood pressure, their oxygen saturation levels, and their heart rate on a weekly basis, Monday to Friday basis, and that information is transmitted to either CCAC or to the program out of the hospital, and it's a checking tool. The person who receives it monitors it, and it's a good diagnostic tool to indicate if the patient is actually continuing to keep their health well or if they're starting to develop a chest infection.
Right.
So it's a way of keeping people away from the ER, actually.
Which is it's great, and then to just even detect things early before they become a real issue for sure.
Now,
Yes.
when you get as bad as I am, we can't go on
No.
that kind of a system. We have our nurses that come to our home once or twice a week,
Yes.
and they do our stats and figure out what's going on. And either way, it keeps us out of the hospital. Because if we have to go to emergency, because our lungs are so bad, we'll catch anything that's in that hospital
Oh,
when
absolutely.
we walk in. So our doctors like to be informed, and that's what my nurse does. That's what her home care service does. Our doctors either come to our home or they'll get us to come into their office immediately. They prescribe us their drugs that we need, and it helps all the way around with the health care system and with us.
Well, it sounds
That's
like it's a very good program, that you're in really good hands. Like there's an exceptional level of care.
Exactly.
And the ladies who presented, Charlotte, they presented to such a wide audience, it provided information that many of us didn't know existed.
Right.
Or if we were aware of it, how do you get connected with it? So it was really informative, very helpful. So that was at our January meeting.
Wonderful.
And then in February, who do we have in February? That was
Tax.
Tax.
We had
Revenue
the federal
Canada.
government
Right.
came in
Right.
and let everybody know what is taxable, what isn't, where we can have tax breaks. If you're paying for your home oxygen or anything like that, you can claim that on your income tax. And there's a whole bunch of things out there that can be claimed that people just don't know.
Right.
And a lot of people cannot afford because they've lost their jobs or they can't go back to work or they're living on very low income. So they really can't afford, like oxygen's not cheap to have at home.
Right.
Some of the drugs that you have to take, they are not cheap. And if you have to pay for it because you don't have that kind of service, or if you have not been put on a disability and you end up paying for it, you can claim all that on your taxes.
Right. So every month a different topic, a different speaker, tons of education, support.
Exactly.
Is there a charge to be a part of the group? Is it a completely free group?
Completely free.
Can people just show up, or should they contact somebody beforehand?
Well, if they wanted questions, they could contact somebody, but otherwise, Cal's done an excellent job at getting information about the meetings out in the community,
Wonderful.
and we chat it up and have people share it with other people. So we do. The attendance is growing.
Wonderful.
It's very
Wonderful.
See,
encouraging.
we have a lot of people who will approach us on the streets, especially with like somebody like me with oxygen. And people will come up and they're not breathing very well or they're puffing and panting. They say, where can we get ourselves one of these tanks? They think they can go out and buy it.
Yeah, and it starts the conversation.
It starts with
To
a
let them know.
conversation.
Yeah.
So we want to reach those kind of people.
Absolutely.
We're there for the caregivers. Like our nurses come to our meetings. as well to keep themselves updated and also to offer their services as they can. And we want family members to come out to understand what to expect for the emotional support, as well as given the physical support at home that is needed.
Well, a super good
Exactly.
program, and kudos to both of you for getting it started here in the community, because it was obviously something that was missing and definitely needed. So good job on all that. We're going to put all the information on the screen so people know how to find it. There's a Facebook group, there's a telephone number that if you want to call, we'll put that up on the screen. I want to thank you both, and I want to thank Shelley also for being on the show and telling us all about lung disease today and the Every Breath Counts lung group. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. Be sure to tune in next week with more on In Your Neighborhood.